Today I'm going to use this round rib to throw a nicely curved inside the bowl. It's more important when you're making the bowl, make sure the inside is nice and smooth so that you don't need to trim the inside. And outside, even it's uneven, you can always remove it easily. But the inside is harder to trim, so use this rib to make the inside nicely curved. And this is about 2 pounds of clay. And I am throwing on my bed system, so when I'm done, I can just lift it up without messing up the bowl. And this is my bed system that I designed it, and the main idea of throwing a piece on the bed is that you don't need to touch the pot when you lift it from the wheel head. That's what the beds are all about. The bed system is to save the space, because most of the bed there are made at about like 12 inches or even 14 inches wide. And if you're making smaller things, your pieces sitting on the bed for drying and taking a lot of space. So this bed system is serving the purpose that it takes smaller area on the shelving space, so you can put many pieces on it. The clay centered, and then open. I tend to open all the way till the right thickness. I would say my bowl is somewhere around half an inch and 3/4 inch, depending on how tall you want to leave your foot. And I like my foot to be tall, so I usually leave about somewhere between 3/4 and half an inch. And once I reach the right thickness, and then I can gradually pick up the clay from there and pour it up. And some people do have a hard time to get this part here nicely curved to start with. So if you have a struggle with that, you can actually, once you open it up, you can use a rib and then use a rib to squeeze it, so you have a nicely curved to start with. Right, you push that, and this is a very nice curve here, so when you squeeze it, you already have a nice curve, and then you just follow that curve and then gradually lift it up. And then your hand, like my thumb and the left finger, go in there and pinch that, and this hand, the right hand, is supporting the thumb, and then I rest my wrist right here on the splash pan and pinch, and slowly but consistently, and go straight up first. Instead of pour it wider, it's easier to make it wider, but it's harder to move it up. So usually you might want to lift your wall up slightly and then gradually open it wider. Compress the rim. And then I'm going to do another pour, and using the same method, pinch from there. So I was using my right hand to brace it, but now I want to be able to see what my left thumb is doing. So I just use my right index finger there and just brace the thumb, my left thumb, and then pinch, and slowly but surely going up. And compress the rim. Right, and then I'm recycling my slip pull it up from my fingertip and then just coat it on the surface. Coat it on the surface. Right, and still I have a lot of clay here. Right there, I coated the people call it skirt of clay. If you leave it untouched, you are going to trim it up later. But if you don't want to leave it there, actually, you can squeeze it in using the finger to squeeze it toward the center and move the clay toward the center. And what I do is put my right hand here and using this fingertip and just pinch it. Pinch. So I'm squeezing the clay from the corner in here so that I will have more clay here and I will be able to move it up even taller. Use the most of the clay. Make sure when you are touching the surface is slippery. So make sure you either use a slip or some water to lubricate it. And now my thumb is too short, but I still want to do the same kind of a pinch. So what I do is put my right thumb to be side by side with my left thumb and then kind of extend it. So this is the way I'm pinching. Pinch the clay and then lift it. Okay, start from here. So squeeze the clay in and then pinch, both ends pinch in the clay and slowly, surely move it up. And now you see that I slightly open up the rim so the ball is getting wider. And then the almost the very final stage, I'm just reshaping and put my finger outside and the fingers inside and slowly adjust the shape of the curve. Put it right here and the inside finger is pushing it down and outside hand is slightly supported. And even push out further so the rim is wider, the rim flare out wider. Okay, so that is almost the shape of a ball. And then I usually use the rib to get rid of all the slip. So push the rib against the side of the wall, and then the inside hand slightly push the wall against. The rib is just supporting it, not much pressure outside, but your inside hand is doing the job to get the curve nicer and also removing the slip. I don't have a camera on top, so the inside is slightly uneven because of my throwing finger mark there. I told you that at the beginning of the video. The inside curve is more important than the outside. So I'm going to use the bring back my round rib. Okay, I call this round rib. This is the size is 4 inches. Okay, 4 inches of a round rib. And just go dip in there and then compress from the center point toward the right. Okay, toward your left is against the direction of the wheel, but you want to slightly from the center, slightly push and slightly rotate it so that you are compressing the inner wall, especially the bottom. Slightly compressed it on the inner bottom, especially the corner. You can slightly tilt it, get tilted. Instead of holding it like 90 degrees, slightly tilt it. So you will have a gradual curve. This is sharper curve, but if you tilt it, you will have gradual curve. Go in there, dip it there, and then slightly tilt it so it's like more horizontal. And then slightly rotate the rib. This is the round rib, so any direction is forming the same curve. and then you can gradually push out and pull it up all the way to the rim. Okay, I'm gonna do one more time. Slightly tilt it so the curve follow, and then slightly rotate it. Okay, so that is how I compress the inner part of the bowl. And then use the chamois to compress the rim. If you don't want the rim to be so thick looking, some people do like have a thicker rim, so it's more of functional use that if you bump it, the thicker rim is stronger. But the the whole piece looks heavier when you have a thicker rim. If you wanted the thin looking, you can squeeze the rim. Like slightly squeezing the rim so the edge is thinner and the feeling of bowl is lighter, because the rim is suggesting that the bowl is thin because the rim is thin. This round rib is made of wood, so there's a little bit of a wood texture or wood grain in it. And if you don't want the texture to be shown, actually if you are going to glaze it, the glaze will probably cover it anyway, so it doesn't matter. But if you're worried about that the texture from the wood is showing up, you can use the rib to smooth it out. What I do is kind of bending the rib and start from the center and slowly move out. Using that to smooth out the inner part. Make sure when you're using this rib, a little bit away from the very center point. If you cross over the center point, you are going to gouge it in, and the very center is not going to look nice. You can just use the thumb and compress in the very center, and then probably 1/4 inch away from the center, and you use the rib to compress it. After that, smooth out the rim. So that is the 2-pound bowl on the very tall foot. And then I will use my number 17. If you spin the wheel clockwise, you can use number 18. Okay, so this, let me clean it up so you can see that tool. Okay, this tool. So how do you use this tool? It's fairly easy. So this part here is straight part. Now you hold it here, and you can push that. This is not very sharp here, this part. And push against the back, and then slowly go in there while the wheel is spinning. Go in there, and then you hold it steady, and you can remove the clay from the corner. Once you trim the clay, make sure you remove from the tool, otherwise the clay is gonna stick on it. So trim a little bit, and then you remove it. You can also put it on the sideway too, sideway. So using this part here is slightly sharper. So this tool, if you see it closer, here I sharpen it a little bit, not too sharp because you're gonna put your hand there. So I intentionally grinded it, but not too sharp, so it's not cutting your fingers. And this part here is not sharp at all because you are going to use it against the bed, so it doesn't need to be sharp. And then see that there is a little round part here, is that in case if you don't want to trim the foot, you can put a little bit style on the foot. So it looks like a finished piece. Okay, so this is this little curve about. If you don't want to trim the foot, you can leave it like that. Right, so I could get the most clay out of the corner, the skirt, and then you will have less clay to trim off later, or we can leave it without needing to trim if you don't want to trim the foot. Alright, so I told you that the best system. So when you're done, you just pick it up without even touch the clay. That's the throwing demo, and I like to show you after using this round rib, 4 inches round rib, to compress the inner part, what it looked like on the inside of the bowl. So let me cut it open. Alright, so this is the inside look like. See the curve? Because of using this rib to compress it, it's slightly tilted. So from the center point, and then you gradually rotate it, and then you can move it up. So the inside of the curve is very nice and smooth. You don't need to trim the inside. Just the outside, and you can see the outside is not very smooth. You can probably remove a little bit more clay on the outer part, so to make it nice and smooth. Right, so that is the round rib look like when you are compressing on the inner part. This is slumping a little bit. It's supposed to be like this. Okay, I hope this demonstration helped, and the rib is available on my Squarespace and Etsy ETSY shop. I have 3 sizes, so depending on how big your bowl is, 3, 4, and 5 inches. This is even nicer for compressing, for making a plate, okay, a larger platter. This one. So 3 sizes. Right. So I hope this demonstration helped, and I will see you on my next video.